interventions of other leaders on the West African region to say, what exactly can we do? What is the implication for our security, the spiraling and the spiking insecurity challenge that we see? Don't forget what happened in Libya, what happened in Tunisia, what happened in Egypt impacted heavily on what we saw in the northeastern region of our country. Whether you like it or not, it is a reality. How do we deal with this? Let's talk about this, everyone. I'm being joined by a security consultant. Dr. Kabiru Adamu is live for us here in our studio. Thank you so much, Dr. Adamu, for joining us tonight on the program.
My pleasure.
Are you worried about that map I just showed now?
Extremely worried. The movement is coming really, really closer home. And apart from that, the fact that consequences of military dictatorship, as it were, is having an impact on our internal security. Most times when these coups happened, we suspend those countries, and the kind of relationships we have, including defense relationships, sometimes suffers. Our borders become more porous, and in the long run, they have an effect on our own national security. So it is disturbing. The other consequence, which is not always spoken, is what happens on social media. All of a sudden, you see social media portrayal through disinformation, misinformation of this leadership of these military juntas as superheroes. And then they now have followership within those countries where democracy is thriving, unfortunately, including Nigeria. And so, yes, it is disturbing.
I mean, for a country, out of our 60-something years of our existence, we spent nearly 3 decades in and out military interregnum, and we know the consequences of military regime in our country. And just a few weeks ago, we know some of the rumors, the arrests that have been made, the raids that have been made around a possible military coup threat in Nigeria. Now, coupled with some of the security challenges that we have, if you were in President Bola Tinubu's shoes, what kind of worry or kind of pressure or what kind of action would you be taking right now? Because he's not only a leader on the continent, either he's a leader of ECOWAS or not. By the virtue of the size, the economic capacity of this country, the history of this country on the continent, President Bola Tinubu is a leader in this country. What would you be doing?
Shehu, Nigeria is a regional hegemon. Whether we want to take it or not, we are a regional hegemon. And so our actions determine a lot of what happens within the region. Number one, we need to play catch up. We've not appointed ambassadors in a lot of these countries in the sub-region, and so a gap has created that is being filled, unfortunately, not by players within the region, but players from the West, to an extent the US. France has exited, but then you now have Russia and you have China. And disturbingly, you have countries like UAE, you have Turkey, that are filling the spaces that we've left vacant. And this would also have consequences on us. So we need to play catch up, immediately fill up those gaps, and then use our soft power. We've got economic magnets like Dangote, Boa, and the several others that we could support to support the kind of diplomacy that we need to do in those regions to reduce the influence of those countries. So that's number one. Number two, we need to look closely at the socio-economic consequences of the economic reforms that the president has taken. You mentioned 30 years of military, interregnum. For anyone who is below 30 years, he may not have experienced that. So Gen Z, the same movements that we're seeing, protest by Gen Z in other parts of the world, where there is nothing at the moment telling me that the Gen Z in Nigeria understand the consequence of a military dictatorship, because I see them supporting the dictatorship that is taking place in Burkina Faso, in Mali. They see those military juntas as heroes. So again,
some of the movement and some of the agitation started on social media.
Exactly.
And that's why any government across the globe, and the government of Nigeria, needs to be worried about the kind of conversation that is going on social media. Be sensitive to it, isn't it?
Exactly. In today's world, in what is called OSINT, sentiment analysis is extremely strong. I'm not sure if as a country we've embraced sentiment analysis and we're able to understand trends within social media. So it's absolutely important that we pay attention to that, and then more importantly, to address those drivers. Inclusion, I think, is absolutely important. Political consensus sometimes is lacking, and perhaps in the course of our conversation, we can dig deeper into political consensus. The disparate nature that we're seeing politicians approaching issues, including recently one of the opposition parties calling for the same military strike that you referred to earlier on. So it tells you the desperation of what some of these politicians can do. When this issue of Christian genocide started, there was enough evidence to suggest that certain persons did go to America to actually advocate for it. So geopolitics is of critical importance. We dropped the ball. We need to play catch up, and that's, I think, an area that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu needs to look at closely. That diplomatic space that we've left vacant, for a very long time, at least more than 2 years now, we need to find ways to catch up, to make sure that the space that we used to occupy. I mean, a former president, Obasanjo, recently told us that before countries like America, before they take any action in the sub-region, they will talk to us. What happened between then and now? So we need to play catch up and do that very fast and occupy the space that we are meant to occupy within the sub-region.
Now, look at it. Look at the decisions of President Bola Tinubu. He's made one day, one order. As far as since the security, it's decided not to travel to Angola and to South Africa. He's asked that all VIP protection should be withdrawn. The police had since moved towards that, and the police is saying that the VIP protection is not to be withdrawn from the one for, they say, for Wike, for ministers, for Atiku, that's a fake news, and that the ministers and some government officials, they will still have their police protection, because the danger of withdrawing it for them, I mean, there are those who will argue that the excessive use of having wives, children, going around with police to the markets, to the supermarket, and when we really have a big deal a real deal of insecurity on our hands, and you see the president making those decisions. He has also changed his security chiefs, and that those who are asking questions, do we need to see more?
Yes, we need to see more. When you said he has changed his security chiefs, he has changed the leadership of the military services, but not the security chiefs. We have about 29 ministries, departments that are responsible for security, and they are broken into three: the strategic leadership, the tactical, and then the operational leadership. All the president did was to take 4 out of those 29. In fact, 3, because one of them he didn't change. But the strategic leadership, I mean, if you have a company and the company has not done very well, to the point where a rival company now came and knocked on your door and told you, if you do not improve on what you have as a company, I'm going to forcibly take over your company. Probably the first thing you're going to do, Shehu, is to do a management change. Yeah? So we haven't seen that yet. The president hasn't looked critically at those 29, especially the strategic leadership within the security sector, and to make changes, because I mean, by all ramifications, they failed. And I think one of the best things the president would do to show that he is aware that they failed is to do a reshuffle.
So political or active professional?
Strategic.
Okay, so in terms of political direction in the handling of security and defense on this, because now we need to now do more in coordination and reconnaissance of area, land, sea support on how all of this, because all of these elements now come together. Now you hear immediately that some of our bordering countries in Nigeria, based on what Trump is saying, and it does look like, are we really active enough to take those decisions that matter?
I mean, I haven't seen that the declaration of a state of emergency in security appears to me to be a balance between urgency and diplomacy, actually. If the declaration was an emergency in real terms, by now we would have seen concrete actions. A good example I would give you is banditry, which is one of our major challenges. The database that I run in my organization shows me clearly that the number of persons that bandits have killed is higher than any of the other threat factors that we have. So what's stopping the president, as an example, from declaring? It now gives the military the authority to go after them in clear terms. Number two, so that we know we're at war with these threat factors, and then he goes after them without the military goes after the agencies goes after them. In April 2014, our president wrote an op-ed in Newsweek. In that op-ed, he was very clear with the world that his administration is not going to pay ransom. Today, everybody in Nigeria knows that ransom is being paid.
Who is paying the ransom? By the state?
Sometimes.
There was an allegation made by the former governor of Kaduna State who was saying that there is an established communication and money is exchanging hands between bandit terrorists and the Nigerian government. And those government today is a liar.
Today, Senator Abomoro fielded questions to journalists, and he admitted to the fact that there are concerns within the Senate about individuals who may be supporting the payment of ransom. So there is enough evidence to suggest that there are individuals within the state that are supporting the payment of ransom. And then beyond that, that shadow economy that allows people, today if you go to withdraw $1 million naira, I don't think there's any bank that will allow you to withdraw cash $1 million naira. But people take 5 million, sometimes 10 million, to go and pay ransom. And the state pretends that it's not aware. Not too long ago, we saw within the sub-region, UAE paying millions of dollars to free their victim. And the consequence of that as a country, have we taken note of it? Will that particular organization buy weaponry? Will that weaponry end up in Nigeria? So payment of ransom is a huge issue. I brought it up because for as long as we don't find a way to either contain or stop or prevent the payment of ransom, the kidnap for ransom industry will continue to grow. When I looked at my record, as at the end of October, 7,000 persons have been abducted in Nigeria. And that's an increase of almost about 50% from what happened in 2024. So we're not doing very well in that regard. And we need to address the various pathways with which people are able to pay ransom.
Do you think that the president is reacting well to the situation of things?
I think he can do better.
You're not impressed so far?
There is a need for seriousness. I'm impressed to the point where it seems he has realized. So like you rightly said, almost on a daily basis we see actions. But then I do not feel the urgency of those actions. When I looked at the measures that the president announced, about 7 measures, only 2 of them speak to urgency. And even those 2, when you break them down, they are not so urgent. And I'll quickly mention them. The withdrawal of police personnel, protective police personnel from VIPs. The number we're expecting is will oscillate between probably 11,000 to, let's say, 50,000. The Inspector General of Police came out to tell us that according to his record, what he's been able to gather is about 11,000. But we know that there are more than that. That's what he knows at the federal level. What about the subnational level, when the DPOs, for instance, or the commissioners of police now deploy without his knowledge? So I think he needs to look a little bit deeper than that. The second fact is these forest guards. The last time we were told that 24,000 of those forest guards have been trained. 24,000 is a little bit too small to man the forest that we have at the moment. So the urgency of those matters, I'm not seeing it. If it's going to be urgent, we need to see drastic measures. And I gave you 2 examples. Declare war on banditry, declare war on terrorism. And then in very clear terms, ask the military and the other security agencies to produce a plan to end these two issues.
I don't want you to give too much, because I know that you are on Ad Copy at 8:30, and a lot of people are watching out for that, and that exclusive interview with you later on tonight. But